Welcome back to Trinity of Fitness Bootcamp. I'm your host, your instructor, Coach Nye. Today we're going to talk about practicing emotional regulation. Practice emotional regulation. So this lesson is going to focus on learning how to manage emotions in a healthy, grounded way. Emotionally regulation is not about suppressing your feelings. No, it's about learning how to stay present, steady, and intentional, even when your emotions feel strong. I couldn't get that out. But let's get into it. So we're going to talk about responding versus reacting. There is a major difference between reacting and responding. One is healing and one is of survival mode. So reacting is immediate, impulsive, emotionally charged. That's what reacting is. It often happens when you're without thinking. So you're not even thinking and you just react. Someone step on your shoes and you immediately push them off. That's the example that I like to use. So it often happens without thinking and is driven by the nervous system in survival mode. That's how it is. You react. That's how it is. It's automatic. They do something and you react back. You know how you hear some people say, I didn't even know. I just blacked out. I didn't even know I did that. I just did that because it's a learned behavior from survival mode. It's just a natural instinct. It becomes a natural instinct. But responding is intentional. It's grounded and it's thoughtful. This happens when you pause. You got to pause, process, and then choose what your next step with awareness. Meaning someone step on your shoe, you don't push back. You see what the problem is. Because maybe they tripped or maybe something happened. Or guess what? You might be in the way. So you have to figure it out. And that's taking the time to pause and say, okay, I need to execute in a different route. It is not just immediate. So healing is the practice of moving from reaction to response. In your wholesome state, you learn to respond. Now let's look at emotional regulation tools, different tools that you can use. Emotional regulation means having tools that help you stay centered when emotions rise. Now these tools may include deep breathing, doing that to slow your nervous system, and then pausing before speaking or acting, and naming that emotion you feel. Let's put a pin right there. Now, naming the emotion that you feel. See, what happens is a lot of us, as I talk about, grew up in a household there were two. You're either angry or you're happy. So if you're crying, you're angry. If you're confused, you're angry. Someone tell you they love you, you're happy. Someone say your hair look nice, you're happy. Someone make you feel embarrassed, you're angry. We didn't know how to sit in any emotion other than those two. We knew how to do those comfortably. But the problem is, it shows up in our adulthood. How? Throwing temper tantrums, not being able to articulate or being able to converse when something is going wrong. I can tell you how I feel without hitting. So naming the emotion you feel. Another tool is grounding techniques. Feeling your feet and noticing your environment. A lot of people like to take their shoes off and go stand in the grass. And there's nothing wrong with that. You can ground that way. But however, if you don't know what grounding is and understand grounding, you're just standing in the grass with your shoes off. That's all you're doing. Grounding is basically, as we just said, calming your nervous system. And you do that by taking in your energy, meaning that this is mine and this is not mine. Sometimes when we have that feeling of anxiety come over us, and you're like, I was just having a good day, and this feeling, it's not your energy. It's identifying what's yours. It's identifying the awareness that's around you. What's yours? What's not yours? That's what that is. So grounding techniques, and another tool is journaling to process emotions instead of expressing them impulsively. So taking the time out to journal. A lot of people don't know what their journal is. So they don't know how to journal and what journaling really is. Journaling is not your diary. Now you can use it as your diary, but if you want it to be effective into your healing process, journaling, I have a journal for everything. I had a journal for my business. I had a journal for my dreams. I had my everyday journal that I would take everywhere with me, to jot down what I'm processing in my head. In my mind, what am I processing, right? And if I couldn't name it, then I wrote it down because I need to come back to it later. I need to know what that feeling is. I became so aware of how I felt and all these different emotions because when I started to heal, I started feeling emotions that I never felt before. And since I was feeling emotions I never felt it before, I couldn't name it. but I can write it down and I can figure it out. I even got to the point I'm doing research. When a person feel like this, what does this mean? Really? Because I needed to understand, is there another feeling for it? Or did I put the secondary emotion to it instead of primary? Meaning that I really feel sad, but I put the secondary, which was anger. Right? So those are the type things. That's how you use journaling. It's not for you to go back. And sometimes, and it, depending on what it is, my everyday journal was not for me to go back and reread and reread and reread. No, right? So when I journal and jot it all down, no, it's not for me to go correct what I'm spelling. It's for the time. Listen, you'll get to a point, and God, He kept telling me to go back to my red book, and I'm like, my red book? I don't know. It was my journal. When God told me I was going to write a book, and I'm like, I don't. God, what am I write about? My life ain't that important. Kept showing me the red book, and I'm like, God, what red book? I got a lot of books that I read, and I'm like, okay, is it this one? Baby, it was my journal. So since it was my journal, I opened it up, and everything that I needed for the book was there. So because I didn't go back and read and read and read, I don't believe in doing that, because then you'll change the way you feel. I need you to write it down so you can sit in it and you grow through it, and then you can look back on it. So those are just my tips of journaling. So these tools help you stay in control of your actions even when emotions are intense. Now let's look at nervous system soothing. Now, as I teach about your nervous system, that is your discernment, right? If we don't regulate our nervous system, once you step into the healing state, that is how God communicate with you. So if we don't regulate our nervous system, how will we hear God? How will we feel God? God is omnipresent, everything. God is everything. Do you understand? So it's kind of like when you step into the healing, you hear people talk about synchronicities, because God will speak to you through numbers. He will speak to you through license plates. He will speak to you through other people. You can be riding and see your answer on the back of a truck. He can speak to you just by your nervous system, because in survival mode, we are taught that when we get that funny feeling in our stomach, it's that fight or flight. We have to do something to survive. And sometimes that's not what it is. It's just God speaking to us to get our attention. Don't go that way. And you go that way anyway, and you said, something, I felt it. Something told me not to go. Well, because you didn't identify and cleanse your nervous system, meaning getting everyone else's energy out of it and honing in only on your energy, so God can speak to you. So your nervous system needs signals of safety in order to calm down. You have to tell yourself, and this is how I calm mine down. I identify what's my energy and what's not my energy. If it's not my energy, it can't stay. So self-soothing can include slow, intentional breathing. I teach you guys about the 44-44. It's the easiest one for me. 4 seconds. Inhale for 4 seconds, hold it for 4 seconds, exhale for 4 seconds, 4 times, right? And then another one, self-soothing that you can do is speak gently to yourself as you're breathing. You can do it while you're breathing, or you can do it separately. It's just one of your techniques, one of your tools. Speak gently to yourself. You are not a crash out. I am not a mistake. I am not angry. I made a mistake. I did crash out, but it was a mistake, and I'm going to do better. Stepping away from overwhelming situations. I am so quick to tell people I do not have the mental capacity to deal with this right now. And it's not so much of it's overwhelming. It's just that what you're doing is triggering me. And that trigger is going to cause me to react from a place of survival mode that I no longer belong. Because sometimes when we heal and we're triggered by something and we're able to step away, it may show up in another situation that you never experienced before. But crashing out of survival mode, you're not going to do that anymore. So this is the time that I need to step away, because I don't even know how to respond to this. I don't even know how to properly respond or articulate or have a conversation and converse in this situation. Because right now, what I'm feeling and all that I know, it's not a good way. So it's okay to step away. Now, you don't have to give that explanation. I'm just giving you an example of how it goes. You don't know what needs to be healed in your life until you're triggered. And in some situations, you're triggered by something that you never even experienced before. How do you handle it if you never dealt with it before? And especially now that you're in your wholesome state, how do you handle it? You pause. Give yourself time to think. Daniel was put in a situation that he'd never been put in before. He can interpret dreams. Yes, he can. He can do things. Yes, he can. However, He never been put in a situation that the king said, I want you to tell me what I dreamed and then interpret it. What? You want me to tell you what you dreamed? Now, if you told me what you dreamed, I can go to God and say, okay, God, break this down. But you want me to tell you? He never been in that situation before, so guess what he did? Give me some time. He asked for time because he knew that this was a God's job. I just wanted to give you that example. So another self-soothing is physical grounding. You can stretch, go for a walk, or rest. But please, do not be nice nasty. I repeat, do not be nice nasty, because nice nasty is just as bad as being nasty. So what I mean by that is when you find yourself in a situation and in front of that person, you taking big deep breaths. Because you showing them that I'm calming down, because I could crash out, but I'm calming down. Or you just walk off like, you know what, I ain't got time for this because you know how y'all do. Because you never finish the sentence, because we don't know either. Don't do that. Because what you're doing is now you're triggering that person. And that person is going to begin to trigger you even more. And nothing about self-soothing is going to show up. At that point, self-soothing is out the window. So always just pause. You don't have to let anyone know what you're feeling. Yes, they're going to feel like they had a one-up on you. No. You pause, create boundaries. Don't take the high road now. The high road is you run away and just say, I don't want to deal with it. No. You're going to pause, take a step back, and you're going to create a boundary. Because you'll never speak to me like that, and you will never be able to do that to me again. And you put that boundary out there, okay? So when your body feels safe, your emotions become easier to understand and manage. Now, regulation is leadership over your emotions. Remember, I told you, before you can become a leader, right, you have to learn how to lead yourself. Even becoming a first-time mom, you have to learn how to take care of yourself. Listen, if you want to be able to be an independent, on your own, taking care of your kids, whether you're a single mom or a married mom, however it is, you have to know how to take care of yourself. Listen, as a first-time mom, I didn't know nothing about taking care of a baby, but I knew how to take care of me. So it's not that it was easy, but however, I knew the basics. This baby got to get bathed. This baby got to get fed. This baby need lotion. This baby need to be loved and hugged. Everything else I learned along the way, his different cues and things like that. So regulation is leadership over your emotion. Emotional regulation means you are leading your emotional state instead of being led by them. So before you can lead someone else, you need to learn how to lead yourself. I know a lot of us were raised by survival parents. They only knew how to survive. They only knew how to survive. They was not emotionally intelligent. They was not regulated. And then they would yell at us and tell us, you better not cry. Well, it hurt, but they said you better not cry. So we wasn't allowed to feel pain. We wasn't allowed to feel hurt. We wasn't allowed to have emotions. So because they didn't take care of themselves, right, in a healthy manner, they didn't know how to take care of us and meet us where our emotions was. They didn't know how to do that because they didn't know. Leadership starts with self first. They didn't know. So as we get older, I want you to learn to give your caretakers, your parents, I want you to learn how to give them grace. Even now, they still may feel if you told them, they still make it your fault. They don't know how to take accountability because it just wasn't a thing that they had to learn. A lot of them had so many brothers and sisters that if they were taught by them, and everybody in that environment is the same way. So they look at you as the problem, right? My sister's doing it. My aunties did it. My uncles did it. My great grandma did it. That's how your parents look at it. So they don't see that they're the problem because they're in an environment. When a person is still in survival mode environment, they'll never see anything of the wholesome state because they don't understand the wholesome state. They don't even think it exists. Okay, so emotional regulation means you are leading your emotional state instead of being led by it. Now, you can feel big emotions without losing yourself. Strong emotions are not dangerous, but without regulation, they can feel overwhelming. Healing is learning to stay present within them. That's what healing is. Learning to stay present within your emotions. Now, strong emotions are not dangerous. So I taught a class about in our childhood, we never pretty much grew up, right? As a child, we created protection for ourselves, how to deal with conflict, whatever that was. As a child, that was our first line of defense. And as we got older, it's not that we looked at it and said, oh, I shouldn't do that. We just became better fighters. So as a child, I realized I needed to defend myself, so I'm gonna learn how to fight, and I fight. And then guess what? As I got older, I learned how to fight better. I never knew that, hey, I can look at it this way. I don't have to fight because I'm in survival mode. That's the only thing that exists. So as an adult, we have these strong emotions, and it become very dangerous because we only know how to deal with conflict with fighting. And as we get older, we get stronger, right? We get stronger. And inside the survival environment, everyone is on the same vibration that I'm on. So now I am fueled by their oohs and ahs and woes and wahs, right? And I become more aggressive and more aggressive. So those are the type things. This is why that it's not that you're childish. You're not childish. You're just stuck in a child mindset when it comes to conflict because you never grew. You never knew you had to. You grew in a way that was still destructive. But as you grow, you learn to, as you step into your wholesome state, you understand that these strong emotions that used to have you to crash out, right? That you can still be present and not lose yourself. You can be in that feeling of anger and still not lose control and still be who you are. I get angry. I get angry. I still get angry. However, I do not go out and put my hands on people. I don't go fight. I sit in it. And what I do is I have to shift through my emotions, and I'm like, okay, I'm angry. But do I feel like I'm about to cry? Because it used to be, you make me so mad I cry. But I found out that it's not that they made me so mad I cry. I just had so many emotions going on. I'm angry and they hurt my feelings. So I'm trying to process all these things. And instead of me processing it, crying because that hurt my feelings and speaking and saying that hurt my feelings and still being upset, I'm upset too. Separating the two, it just became a ball of fire. I was like the anime. I just Super Saiyan. So now I can sit in those emotions, have those strong emotions, and I can sit down because I realized that every time that I was Super Saiyan, the energy would just seep away, just take away. I want my energy to stay mine. I don't want to give my energy away. So I have to sit it out, think about it, and say, okay, this is what I'm feeling. And I don't like either or. But I'm not going to, the target that I want to take it out on, I'm not going to. I'm going to put a pin in it and I'll come back to you because I got to create boundaries so you'll never make me feel like this. So that's how I kind of deal with things is all those big emotions. I can sit in all those strong emotions and it not be a dangerous situation. I can still be me. I can sit and stay present and I can work through them. So let me give you some mental exercises. I'm going to give you mental, spiritual, and physical. So your mental exercise, I want you to identify one moment today you regulated well or wish you had. Okay? One moment today you regulated well or wish you had. That's what I want you to work on. So at the end of the day, that's what I want you to work on. And then you have your body exercises. We talked about the 44-44. 4 times I want you to inhale for 4 seconds, hold it for 4 seconds, and exhale for 4 seconds. That's what that is. I want you to practice that. And then your soul exercise. What emotion is asking for my attention? I want you to journal that. Or you can do a reflection. It doesn't matter. What emotion is asking for my attention? You got 3 ways to handle it. You can just sit and do a reflection, just sit in thought. You can meditate on it, go in deeper thought with it, or you can journal it. But your declaration, repeat after me. I regulate with wisdom and calm. I regulate with wisdom and calm. And then your journaling prompts for today is what emotion is hardest for me to control? What emotion is hardest for me to control? And what triggers dysregulation? What triggers dysregulation in you? And then your last piece of homework, because I like to give y'all enough stuff that you can do for the whole week, is practice regulation once today in real time. And just throughout the week, just practice regulation real time. Just practice it. Okay? So, listen, if no one told you today, I'm telling you now, I love you and I am so proud of you. You keep going, keep doing what it is, keep digging deep, go within. And if you want to be ladies, if you want to be a part of a network, go ahead, subscribe and join me at the leadhermovement.mn.co, leadhermovement.mn.co. This is where I am building sisterhood. Sisters does not mean one race. Sisterhood is all women together because we come from the same father, right? So we're sisters. We're not sis. We're not friend. We're not sis. We're none of that. We're our sisters. And what I'm teaching is bringing sisterhood back, teaching us how to be friends again, teaching us how to pour into each other, teaching us how to work well with each other. So it is a self-paced place where you come in, get the things you need, even your monthly workout program, your one-on-one coaching session with me at the end of the month. And then from there, on every Thursday, the only thing that's not self-paced is when I teach the Sister Circle framework. So that is in the Becoming Her Academy. With this inside, you'll get your student manual, and all you have to do is just show up. So, and that's every Thursday. So as always, as I told you, I love you and keep up the good work. If you haven't downloaded, go ahead, download, share with a friend. All my social medias is Chat with Coach Nye. My YouTube is Chat with Coach Nye. If you want to catch some teachings on my YouTube, they're under my playlist. Subscribe and hit the notification bell because I go live there. And also on TikTok, which is Chat with Coach Nye, I do a Lead Her morning show. Every morning I come on and teach women leadership. So you guys be great. Coach Nye out.